today. Ian Machado Gary and his wife have been making the rounds for the last week and a half, and I've avoided talking about it until today. And there was also a fight signed between Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page that we're going to cover. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. So we're going to kick it off with Ian Machado Gary. He is a fighter at 170 pounds in the UFC. He is 26 years old, and he's married to a maybe self-proclaimed, maybe the original WAG, a woman that is 40 years old, and I believe they have just recently, within the last year, had a child together. So you're probably like, what's the big deal about all this? Here it is. Ian Machado Gary has been going around, talking a lot of crap about a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? And what I find to be so interesting a lot of the times in just in life in general is the people that tend to go around and talk the most about other people and kind of always ruffle the feathers. Like, that person that always rocks the boat, you know what I'm talking about? Like, they always a contrarian. They always against whatever whatever the consensus agreement of something is. They always come in like, if you're like 1 + 1 is 2, they're like, well, there's a world where it could be 5. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That person, that guy, that lady that is always a contrarian, always has to go against everything just for the sake of an argument. Those people always tend to have so many weird things going on in their life. So I'm just going to break this down real quick. Ian Machado Gary, originally Ian Garry, young dude, prospect in the UFC, on his way up. He's a good fighter, and that's what it is, right? But here's the thing. So homie meets this other, meets his wife. He meets this lady. I'm not going to say her name. All of this, look, I'm just making a YouTube video, so all of this is alleged. I'm not copying anything. But, so he meets this lady. She's 40 years old. He's 25 or 26. And she locks him down. Now let's keep in mind, she was married to another member of the mixed martial arts community whose last name is Machado, right? Her and this guy get a divorce. She keeps the last name because clearly she wants to be something in the MMA community. Enter Ian Garry. Ian Garry gets completely turned out by this woman. Completely tricked out of everything, because the next thing you know, he marries her and he takes her last name, which is not even really her last name. It's her ex-husband's last name. So he becomes Ian Machado Gary. And even if you look at that like it's a play or it's a good move to be in mixed martial arts and have that name attached to you, you're a man before you're an MMA fighter, right? Like, who does that? Like, who's marrying somebody and is like, oh, I'm going to take your last name. And then the last name is not even really her last name. It's her ex-husband's last name, right? Right. So that's already weird. But let's get a little bit deeper into this, right? So, a lot of this has actually been put out there by the MMA guru. So shout out to him, who's just out there just doing work on these folks. But here's the thing, man. So his wife has written a book basically talking about how to trap a young athlete, essentially. He doesn't see the correlation in this. So now he's made an enemy of Colby Covington. He's made an enemy of Sean Strickland, the MMA guru, Neil Magny, and it just goes on. As well as, he's definitely not in favor of Leon Edwards, the welterweight champion. He got moved out, kicked out, however you want to word it, out of Leon's gym because, obviously Leon is the champion. He's definitely going to probably end up being a contender unless he takes an L coming up soon. So it's just a really weird thing. Leon Edwards had to get him out of there. Get out of my gym, bro. I ain't got no time for you or your WAG wife. You know what I'm saying? Get out. So it's like, this dude is so weird, though. Like, when you look at him, he's a guy that is young in his career. He got the Conor McGregor cosign from when he was a boy. He met Conor at some sort of an event, told him he was going to be a UFC fighter one day. Years later, it came true. That's already a pretty cool story. You know what I'm saying? Right? Would you agree? It's a pretty cool story. So, he already has a pretty good story. He's already linked to the biggest star in the sport. But then he comes in, and, in the beginning of his UFC career, he was pretty brash. He was pretty outspoken. Sometimes he kind of seemed like he was kind of copying Conor or full-blown copying Conor, whatever. But that happens. When you got a big star in the sport, you're going to have other stars come in and copy him. So, yeah, that's that. But what I find is crazy, and also I'd like to mention again, this guy can really fight. He seems to be really skilled. But what I think is crazy is there's plenty of details and all of this about him and his wife that we could go through, but there ain't no need to. I'm just going to speak on how this correlates with his fighting career. What are you doing? Like Ian Machado Gary. You really should just be Ian Garry. What are you doing? Like, why would you create all of these different beefs? And I know if Kobe wins the title, you can maybe go challenge Kobe or whatever. I don't know what you're doing against Sean Strickland. And I know Sean Strickland kind of threw his name in the hat after MMA Guru, but that's what Sean Strickland does. But it's like, here's what I'm saying. I'm kind of rambling around, but here's what I'm saying. You're coming up to a major fight, and you're creating all of this beef online, which, none of the beef necessarily matters, but you're putting your attention elsewhere other than training and focusing all of your energy, all your mental energy, everything on this fight. You're worried about trying to make this video against this guy. My wife's making a video against the guru, and then I got to say something to this guy. I got to say something to that. Then next week you're going to be in a press conference with Kobe Covington on the stage, who will definitely take multiple shots. He's probably already bought his wife's book and will have the book there to show. And it's like, we just saw with Adesanya, right? We just saw that out of all of these people that Israel Adesanya has fought and styled on, when all of this stuff came out about him and dogs and his past and all this stuff, and it was clear he was rattled to a certain extent that week, even though he tried to stay calm and act like he wasn't. And then we went on and saw him lose his title. And maybe Ian Garry will go out there and style on his opponent, which is Vicente Luque. Maybe he will go out and style on him, but maybe he won't. And if he does go out and style on Luque, how many more times can he go out there and do that if he's going to keep splitting his energy and devoting it to the internet and arguing with people? And it's just weird to do all of this early in your career, because you haven't truly solidified yourself as the top contender, or you're not a champion. You haven't, you're not in line to fight for the belt yet. So there's no need to split your energy and try to be this like online celebrity and this and that when you haven't done everything you need to do in fighting yet, bro. Like, you ain't did it all yet. So there's no need to be like splitting all of this and be online and talking about this person, talking about that person, saying this and saying that, doing all these things when you haven't really achieved anything in the UFC yet. Yeah, you're a prospect, but you're not a contender. Yeah, you've got some pretty decent wins, but you haven't beaten anybody to where we're turning our head like, can't believe Ian Garry beat him. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's not happening. So that's just one thing. But then let's be a little rude, you know what I'm saying? Let's get to the wife real quick. Like, bro, one thing I've noticed about these young dudes that link up with these older women, it's like it don't ever be like, it's never the older woman who is a dime, straight up and down, complete total dime. Like, this is the one, you know what I'm talking about? It's always somebody that, yeah, they are good looking, I guess by regular standards. But when you're talking about a 25, 26-year-old possible future star in the UFC, you know, from Ireland, who's got the backing of Conor McGregor, you're like, I don't know, bro. I've seen a lot of pictures of her, and I feel like he could have did better. I don't know. It might be a hot take. I mean, I ain't saying she ain't a good-looking lady, but I feel like he could have did better. You know what I mean? I mean, she ain't like that. And then it's like, bro, she's 40. And it's like, okay, so you married her. Bro, when you're 30, she's going to be 45. How much longer can she still continue to look like that? You know what I mean? Like, and I see this a lot, like, on another tip, don't even have nothing to do with mixed martial arts. How about Michael Jordan's son? I believe his name is Marcus Jordan. And he's engaged to be married to Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, Larsa Pippen. She's 49. He's 32. And I'm sorry, I mean, she's had a lot of, I'll say alleged, a lot of surgeries and a lot of things to try to keep her looking young. She don't really look good. She's not really good looking. You know what I mean? Like, sorry to say, I mean, she kind of looked like Skeletor in the face. You know what I'm talking about? Like, a little malnourished at times, but then you mix it with all the plastic, and it's just like, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just looking at all of this, and I'm just like, if you're going to get shacked up with a future athletes, if you ever watch this video, young athletes, if you're going to get shacked up with an older woman, she's got to be top shelf, top quality, pick of the litter. You know what I'm saying? The grand champ. You know what I'm talking about? It's got to be as good as it gets. It can't be just barely or barely a 10. You know what I'm saying? It's got to be like a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10. It can't be a 9. It can't be 8, or else it's not worth it, because you broke the code. You're a young possible star, or maybe maybe to some of these other guys are already stars. You're a young star. You're a young athlete who's about to be making really good money. Or in, you know, Michael Jordan's son case, you're the son of Michael Jordan. You know, I mean, come on, he's a billionaire. What are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you've got to choose the tip-top best, because you've already won at life. And when you've already won at life, why would you go out there and link up with a woman that a regular dude could probably have, more than likely? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but, you know, I mean, I'll just say right now, if I saw Ian Garry in a dark alley, he's going to handle me. There ain't no problem about it. He's going to handle me. But I'm going to say it anyway. Like, bro, she ain't like that. Like, and from what I understand, now she's like a part of either his full management of his MMA career, or mostly his manager. She's got her hands in all of his money, all of his affairs, and he's online defending himself. I'm sorry, defending her more than himself, 2 weeks before the biggest fight of his career in the UFC, where, you know, if he goes out there and loses to Vicente Luque, he's not done. I mean, he definitely can keep going, but it's going to be a major setback. You know, it's clear that now that Vicente's come back, won his last fight, the UFC's propping him up for Ian Garry to go out there, demolish him, so they can keep moving Garry up the ladder. And you're, like, wasting your time arguing with, you know, the MMA guru and Sean Strickland and Kobe Covington, definitely going to be Kobe Covington next week at the press conference. It's like, what are you doing, dude? Especially after you tried to make a fool of Neil Magny over some comments that you took out of context. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, please, to the future athletes, young athletes, think about who you're shacking up with. You know what I'm saying? Think about who you're going to get with. Look further down the road. Don't worry about how she looks right now. All right? Don't worry about how she looks right now. Think about 10 years from now. Like, 10 years from now, homie's going to be around like 35 and she's going to be 50. And let's just say, what if he becomes like a Conor McGregor level star? That's who he's going to be with? I mean, I know this might be a little mean-spirited or whatever, but it's like, I just got called out. See, are you serious? Like, that's what he's going to be with? Y'all, when y'all get done watching this video, Google the pictures of the lady. No one's saying she ain't good looking, but I mean, come on. If I'm a star athlete, I know the biggest mixed martial arts star in the world. I had this wholesome story about when I met him as a kid. Now I'm 25, 26. I'm in the UFC. I'm on the come up. And I could be fighting for the welterweight championship within the next year and a half or so. Bro, that's not what I'm choosing. Don't get me wrong. You know, she's a nice looking lady. But that's not it. I don't know. I don't know. I just had to say all of that because I see it kind of floating around the internet, and I know everybody's going back and forth, but I just wanted to call it out for what it is. She ain't really that good looking. You know what I'm talking about? It ain't really all of that. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let's not pretend like, you know, yeah, compared to, you know, meeting somebody at Walmart, yeah, she's pretty good looking. But to be a star athlete at 25 years old in the UFC, man, she ain't like that, bro. Come on, she's not. And I'm definitely not taking her ex-husband's last name. You know what I'm talking about? She's crazy. What are we doing here? What are you people talking about? Like, anyway. So, outside of that, the UFC has signed a fight between Kevin Holland and Michael Venom Page at 170 pounds. Michael Venom Page is now in the UFC. That's awesome to see. You know, I hope he didn't waste his best years in Bellator. Now he finally gets his shot. If he didn't waste his best years in Bellator, I think the dude could definitely still has time to be a star in the UFC, or at least get some major big money fights. He's first got to beat Kevin Holland, but if he can beat Kevin Holland, maybe they sign a fight between him and Wonder Boy. Then from there, man, he might be able to get some big money fights. Maybe even a title shot after, you know, he puts together a good 3 or 4 wins. Because he's already got a name. So it's not quite the same as Alex Pereira, but it's somewhat, I mean, you know, Alex Pereira had the link to Izzy, but Michael Venom Page is already a name in the mixed martial arts world. Maybe not to the common, you know, the casual watcher, but in the mixed martial arts game, he's already a name. So I kind of feel like if he gets like 3 or 4 big wins, they'll definitely give him a title shot. So that's kind of like the little extra tidbit of UFC news. Outside of that, Dana White is teasing that he's in the process of trying to sign some super fight. I don't know what that is. He's has said that it doesn't involve Conor McGregor, so it kind of leaves it up in the air as to who else it is. Not really sure. Who knows when you're dealing with Dana? You know, Daddy Warbucks, big money Dana. He's a promoter, so I don't know what's going on there. But that's what it is. Nevertheless, just wanted to kind of drop in, be a little, you know, mean-spirited, and you know, just kind of weigh in on something that's kind of been going around for the last couple of weeks. Nevertheless, man. Also, you know, I just remembered. Also, Dylan Dennis, he's threw his name in the hat, and he's sharing DMs that Ian Machado Gary's wife had sent him a few years ago, like back in 2018. Now, who knows? Who knows? Dylan Dennis be lying. You know, he be lying. He be lying. So we don't know if he's really telling the truth there. But I mean, come on. Even Dylan Dennis turned her down. You know what I'm saying? That's like, bro, that's bottom of the barrel. But nevertheless, bro, I just want to stop in, kind of chit-chat with you folk about all of this. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about the situation. Just let me know in general. I appreciate you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.